Good afternoon and welcome to the viewing point above Blackgang, and I'm here this afternoon first of all to take a look at the view, looking out towards the West White, and secondly to go up towards the Pepper Pot and to tell you a little bit about the history of St Catherine's Hill and St Catherine's Oratory. So we'll start off by doing a little bit of view observation, and as you can see, like, we're almost at the southernmost tip of the island, not quite, and you can see it's a bit scary up here. There's some quite dramatic cliffs, as you can see. I'm just going to edge towards the edge of them, and very dramatic. And below me, of course not open yet, is the relatively famous theme park, Blackgang Chine, and then you can see the coastline wandering off there to the west, all the way round. Eventually you get to Freshwater Bay. Then if you continue to go that way, you get to the Needles, on the kind of western tip of the island. The story I tell this afternoon takes place over many centuries, and this island in Roman time was known as Vectis, and we do go back to Roman times for the story of St Catherine. And just looking out of the land here, I wonder what, I don't know, nearly 2,000 years ago, how the people were living. Maybe some sailing boats out at sea, maybe some really small little settlements around here. And then of course the Oratory sort of is a Middle Age type of story, really, from the Middle Ages. So back in those days, I wonder how the land was used. On this beautiful afternoon, it's not hard to imagine. It'd be not so dissimilar from what it looks like today. So, as we look north towards the Solent, you see the Hoy Monument in the distance there. I was tempted to walk there actually tonight, but I thought by the time I got there, took a few pictures and walked back, it might have left it a bit too late. St Catherine's Hill here. It used to be called Chale Down, and then I guess in the quite early Middle Ages it would have been changed into St Catherine's Hill. And so I hope you'll forgive my ignorance, but I knew next to nothing about St Catherine of Alexandria before I started to read up about her. I'm sure many of you will know an awful lot about her. In the late 200s she was born in Alexandria, Egypt, to a very wealthy and well-to-do family, and became very well educated, read a lot, and at the age of 14, I believe, became a convert to the new Christian faith, and in some sort of revelation, kind of almost like pledged herself to Christ and received a ring, kind of as almost like being married, as I understood it. Anyway, so there was a pagan festival in Alexandria, which the Roman Emperor Maxentius came to attend, and as part of the festival a lot of festivities were going on, including burning and I guess beheading and killing in various ways members of this new kind of religion of Christianity. Catherine sort of spoke to him and tried to reason with him, I guess, to stop doing this, and he got some of the elders in, and the wise people, the scholars of the time, and Catherine was so persuasive that I think he said it was about 50 of those became Christians. The emperor wasn't too impressed and executed those. Seemed to have a fond eye for Catherine and proposed to her in marriage. She refused, and he decided to have her executed as well. So he was going to have her executed on the spiked wheel, but when she touched it, it kind of disintegrated, and but it didn't do that much good, because he then had her beheaded. And I think he said the angels transported her body to Mount Sinai, and there, centuries later, her head and her left hand with the ring on were found, and kind of miraculous things came from them, and she was canonized and became one of the 14 kind of holy helpers that kind of helped out people in illness and in various other ways in life. And she appeared to some different people, including Joan of Arc, and I guess to give them advice. So a really, really important saint in medieval times in particular, which is why an oratory, which is a place of prayer, was built upon this hill. So there is actually a rather morbid link between St. Helena, or Helena, who I made a video about earlier on in the week when I was talking about how St. Helena's got its name, and St. Catherine, who of course lends her name to St. Catherine's Hill and St. Catherine's Down, etc., and other St. Catherines here on the Isle of Wight and around the world, in fact. So the link is the Roman Emperor at the time. So as you heard, he beheaded her in the year 305 AD, and 7 years later, in 312, he was fighting to maintain his status as emperor against Constantine, who of course was whose mother was Helena, or Helen, the saint who gives the name to St. Helens. And they met and fought a battle on the Milvian Bridge just outside Rome over the river Tiber, and Constantine won that battle, and it is said that Maxentius was drowned in the river Tiber as a result of the battle. So there you go, a link between St. Catherine's Hill, in a way, and St. Helens. St. Mary de Wine, heading towards a French monastery with some wine that was shipwrecked. A guy called Godderton, anyway, can't remember his first name, just should have stayed by the information board. He plundered that ship for the wine, and he was caught, and he was then taken to Southampton the year later. The ship went down, I think, in 1314, and he was taken to Southampton and paid. He had a fine. But that wasn't good enough for the Catholic Church. They wanted more penance, and they also wanted a lighthouse, effectively, on this hill. So they ordered him to build basically a lighthouse next to the oratory, the place of prayer that people used. And this was constructed here. And I believe for a couple of hundred years, the light was kept alight, the flame was kept alight, and the prayers were said for souls that were lost at sea and for sailors to stay safe. My poem about the pepper pot here of St. Catherine's Oratory. Here we go. Alexandria, Egypt, the year 305. Young Catherine, now a Christian, doesn't want to survive. Not if it means giving up her new faith. Maxentius orders a terrible fate. Sentenced to death on a spiking wheel. At a touch it just shattered, overpowered by her zeal. So her head was removed, martyrdom embraced. Angels took her body to another sacred place. Now a heavenly holy helper to intercede for the ill. Her name then title places, including one upon this hill. That name was once called Chaledown upon the Isle of Wight. An oratory for prayer was built atop this site. The 20th day of April, 1313, any soul there praying in the distance would have seen St. Mary of Bayonne flounder in the bay, Walter de Godderton plundering her wine as she lay. Convicted the next year, the church ordered penance more. He now funded a lighthouse to help save ships from shore. This pepper pot-shaped structure attached to the said shrine is all now that is left standing from the payment for his crime. Now Britain's oldest lighthouse is Dover's Roman one. The oratory is next. All the rest are gone. In medieval centuries, a flame was kept alight to help guide vessels through the perilous night. Priests prayed there for souls claimed by the sea, but when the monasteries dissolved, it was no more meant to be. Left now to go to ruin and no longer a guide, it took another terrible wreck to help decide. Once more this stretch of coast should have a strong bright beacon, but one closer to the sea was given as a reason to build a brand new lighthouse in 1840 to anoint, in a nod to all that history at St. Catherine's Point. So it's turning into an absolutely glorious evening. So peaceful. It's got quite chilly. The wind's got up a little bit. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one.